everyone, and welcome to Language Talks. We have with us today Kanika Saxena, who has an interesting transition from engineer to entrepreneur to content strategist, an author, and a life coach. Her books revolve around self empowerment, happiness, stress management, women, social media, and personal transformation. She began her author journey during the COVID-19 lockdown with a book, A Lockdown Story, and has since written multiple self help books while also running a content writing company, The Writing Right, and also a life coaching practice. She has been recently declared the winner of the Press Sahitya Ratna Award for her remarkable book, The Ravana Within Slay Your Inner Demons. Let us talk to her about her journey. Welcome to the show, Kanika.
Thank you so much, Lalita. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. First of all, heartiest congratulations on this Sahitya Ratna Award.
Thank you.
So, I would like to start by asking you about this book. So, please tell us about the inspiration behind this book, The Ravana Within.
The inspiration to write this book is from the character of Ravana himself. Actually, I find that there's a lot of paradox. On one side, you have the positives, like he's a learned scholar, he knows the Vedas, Shastras, a great devotee of Lord Shiva. He has received boons from Brahma. He's written books, expert at Veena. So, you have a person with so many positive things in his character. And then you see the negative side. That is his lust for Sita. Earlier, it is not just lust for Sita. Earlier, it was also there for Ramba, who is his stepbrother's daughter-in-law. So that, and then his greed for power, his fear about losing power. So all these things set me thinking that how can a person be these two extremes? And somewhere I drew the conclusion that probably as he grew from strength to strength, became more powerful, that is how, they say success gets into your head or arrogance started. And this paradox is something that I feel we can all relate to, because we have a positive side, which is traits like empathy, compassion, kindness. And then we have negative traits like hatred, jealousy, anger. So we are a combination of this positive and negative. And in Ravana's case, the negatives became more dominant and led to his downfall. Whereas we have a choice. We can make our positive side stronger and make the negative side powerless. So I have called the inner Rama as our positive side and inner Ravana as our negative side. And it's the conflict, how to make our Rama stronger. That's the idea behind the book.
That is so true. I mean, you have elaborated it so nicely. That is what we go through every day, I think, every person, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing this. I'm curious to know, Kanika, you come from an engineering and management background. So, did you ever imagine that one day people would know you primarily as an author?
Never. Actually, excuse me, many people dream of becoming authors. They want to write books. And that was never a dream for me. I always wanted to work in the corporate, and I was always, as a kid also, I wanted to work in an office. So I wanted a corporate job. And I did my engineering, got the job, and I was happy. And then when I had my baby, I decided to quit. And after 20 years, I again went back to corporate, this time as a fresher and without any experience of content writing. So I was treated like a fresher. But over there in that company, I got an opportunity to edit a book written by an author whose native language is not English. So there was a lot of work to be done. And I got this feeling that I'm literally rewriting the entire book. And that was the first time that I got this idea that if I can do it for her, maybe I can write a book myself. And I started many times but couldn't complete, and this is a problem many people have. They start writing books and they're not able to complete, and that was my story also. It was only during the lockdown I attended a book writing workshop, and then the tips that I got there, I used that and wrote my first book, A Lockdown Story.
I
And
see.
now I'm known as an author, which was something totally unexpected.
Okay. So that became the turning point, right? This
Yeah.
book. So please tell us more about this book.
A lockdown story is my personal journey of self awareness, personal growth. It started during the lockdown because initially during the lockdown, I used to be very stressed, looking at the news, looking at the numbers, and I would be depressed and anxious. What if it happens to me? If it happens to my family members? But then I watched a video where I think it was by Sadhguru, where he said, "Don't watch the news. Okay, if you want to be peaceful, don't watch the news." So I just stopped watching. And then when it kind of during the lockdown, all the external noise was shut off. And news was the only one that also I shut off. And that's when I started my journey inwards. I started looking inwards. Now, what COVID made me realize is that life is finite. Okay, we keep on planning and thinking that I will do this, I'll do that, but whatever we have to do it now, because you don't know what the next day will bring. So that was one realization. And that is what actually prompted me to write the book, that yes, I should do it now. Then, even the A Lockdown Story is a book which is a positive take on the initial lockdowns. It is about the positive things that happened to me, happened to my family during, between March and May. And I feel it COVID taught me to look at the silver lining in the dark clouds. So that is another learning. And it was during COVID, I also realized that uh, happiness is something which is in our control. Nobody else can make us happy, because I believe that only we know what we like, what can make us happy. The other person can only guess. And we keep on waiting for others to make us happy. So these were some learnings which I compiled and made it into a book, A Lockdown Story.
I read the book and I found it really amazing how you took out the positive from the negative side that was that life had given us. That is real. I find it really amazing. Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kanika, your books share a common message that is taking responsibility for your own life. So, why is this idea so central to your philosophy? I would like to know that.
Okay, control and power is something that we are all seeking, right? As mothers, we try to control our children. As bosses, we try to control our subordinates and then end up getting frustrated because nobody listens to us. And most of us are trying to control things. Sometimes we are trying to control our future. And future is unpredictable. Like, for instance, COVID. Nobody knew this was coming. So you can't prepare for everything and you can't control anything. So this is the idea that, the utility of trying to control our external, the people outside the environment. What we can control is our words, our actions, and our thoughts. These are the things that are in our control. So, taking personal responsibility for anything, any situation, gives you that power that you're looking for, that control, instead of, blaming other people. if we stop the blame game and take personal responsibility for our actions, it could have positive results, it could have negative results, but it's ultimately our responsibility. Then, about our happiness, as I spoke earlier also, it is we know what will make us happy. So it is in our control. We can make ourselves happy. Similarly, if you talk about health, right? Nobody can exercise for you. People can tell you diets, but it's finally you who has to do it. So everything about us is in our control. And how we can control it is by taking personal responsibility. So that is something that I believe in, and that's what I try to share through my books.
Yes, and I think you have shared it very beautifully. Yeah. Kanika, happiness is often treated as a destination. Your book suggests that it can be a daily practice, right? So please tell us more about it.
Okay. Happiness, again, is something that we are all seeking. Whatever we do, we want, at the end of the day, we want to be happy. And we believe that if I achieve so and so, if I get this promotion, if I have a lot of money, if I buy that car, I buy the Mercedes or whatever. So we all have definite goals and we're trying to achieve them. And we feel that when we have it, we will be happy. But in the process, we are missing out the entire journey of working towards that goal. Okay, we are only looking at the goal. So, what happens during that journey? That is what I believe is actual happiness, how you spend that journey. Yes, goals are important. Yes, they will make us happy. But that happiness is fleeting because today you can have say a piece of jewelry, whatever you're looking for. The initial euphoria, when it dies down, the happiness is gone. Then you're looking at the next goal. So the goal cannot be the happiness. It is the journey towards the goal. I believe it is living in the moment. It's enjoying the little things. For me, it is things like listening to music, and reading and watching stand up comedy shows. So, any of these things that give me happiness, that's all. I don't need something big, something spectacular to make me happy. Talking about happiness reminds me of this song you might have heard. It's from Sound of Music, which goes raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens and bright copper vessels, I think, and warm woolen mittens. So these are some of the things that she's listed down. Okay, so these are a few of my favorite things, is what she says. And then later on in the song, it goes on that when the dog bites or the bee stings, I simply remember these things and I'm not sad, something like that. So it is just these little things, that give us happiness. It is about spending time with people we like, spending, maybe watching a show, a favorite show. So we feel happy when we are doing it, but we take it for granted that, these are not the big things. It's when I have that thing, I will be happy. So that's what I want to stress on, that it is the little things that give us happiness, not the final destination. We should not tie it to that.
Wow, you explained it so beautifully. Thank you.
Thank you.
We usually think of stress as something big. So, why did you choose to focus on the tiny stress triggers that people ignore? So, what people have ignored, I think you have highlighted, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, stress, we have taken it as a normal part of life. And I won't say it's exactly wrong because there are stressful situations in our lives that we can't run away from. When I talk about teeny tiny stress triggers, I'm talking about the irrelevant things that we have given a lot of importance to and we get stressed about. One such thing can be, brooding over the past. Now, here is something we can't do anything about. We make mistakes or something terrible happens to us. It's only to learn a lesson and move ahead. Sitting and worrying about it, thinking about it again and again, and feeling the pain is something that we can avoid. It's by conditioning your mind, spending time in more constructive activities, keeping your mind occupied. And this, I feel, is a teeny tiny trigger, sorry, which can be avoided. Then again, many of us are perfectionists. We want ourselves to be perfect, everything around us to be perfect, people to be perfect. And when that doesn't happen, we are stressed. So this is something we need to let go. We have to understand that perfection is not possible. And in the modern day, social media is also a cause for stress. Many people get anxious, looking at posts of people who seem to have everything. And then they feel, okay, I'm not good enough. My life is not good enough. People are so beautiful. I don't have that kind of skin. I don't have that kind of body. So these things, these are again unnecessary stress triggers, or what you say, teeny tiny stress triggers. And they do not need our focus and attention. So, this is what I have spoken about in my book. If we do not waste our energy on such triggers, we will be in a better position to handle bigger causes of stress, like maybe a financial loss or maybe even COVID. Such situations, if we have not spent our energy, our mental energy on brooding over these unnecessary things, we are in a better position.
You are so right. I think this point needs to be, given a lot of attention. Social media tomfoolery. You ask a very powerful question in this book, whether you are using social media or is social media using you. I think this is so relevant in these times. So, what inspired to write this book?
Social media tomfoolery came about when I wrote this book in 2021, just when social media was rising. Okay, it had not reached the levels it has today. And I could sense where it's going, not to this extent, but I knew that it is causing a lot of damage. And that comes from personal experience. Okay, I will, my own example, I would put up posts and then I would keep on looking for the likes and comments and everything, and then see how my friends' posts have performed, want to better that. And these were things that were affecting me. They were impacting me. I would waste a lot of time thinking about, what kind of post I should put so that I get a lot of attention and stuff. I was posting about my kids' achievements, my whatever I was doing, my husband. And then I reached a point where I realized, why am I thought about, why am I doing it? What am I achieving out of this? Today, people who post such things become influencers and they're making money and all that. But is that my goal? Is that where I'm heading? So I was very clear that that was not what I wanted. And the anxiety and the stress, of being relevant on social media was not worth it. And I felt this mental agony that I'm going through is something many people can relate to. And I realized that it was the algorithm, the social media that was controlling me, my thoughts, my ideas, everything. So, and that's why I thought I would spread this message that it's time to get hold of yourself, look at the damage social media is capable of causing, and take the corrective steps. And even in case of youngsters who should be focusing on their studies, completely distracted by social media. So that's with that intention I wrote this book, where I speak about the negatives, the dangers of social media. I've also spoken about the positives, because in today's world, we cannot ignore social media. We have to accept it. We have to. I would say today I enjoy it. I post on social media and I don't care. Of course, I like the attention, but it's not a priority in my life. So it is all about using it in a balanced way, in a controlled way. And that is what the book is about, social media tomfoolery.
Okay, that's very good. About your book, The Atypical Tale of a Typical Indian Woman. So I like this title a lot. So tell me, what is this typical yet atypical woman?
Okay. Typical, not atypical, a typical Indian woman is someone who gives priority to all other people around her, takes care of their needs, does everything for them, ensures that everybody is, well fed, well looked after, and happy. She gives her 100%, whether it's at work or at home, and she somehow doesn't exist anywhere on her priority list. Okay, so she neglects herself and she feels frustrated, sad, because the very people she's taking care of are not reciprocating it. She's not getting that kind of attention, that kind of care from others. So it kind of makes her frustrated that I'm doing so much for others. Why is nobody taking care of me like that? Why nobody is bothered about me? So that is the typical Indian woman. Now, coming to the atypical Indian woman, she also takes care of her family, also gives her 100% at work, but she takes care of herself too. It is somewhere in her scheme of things, she also matters. And when she takes care of herself, she does not feel the dependency or need for others to take care of her because she loves herself and she is able to love others better. She's able to give that love. If she's waiting for others, love from others, first of all, she will never be satisfied. And second thing is, she is not in a position to give. So it is about taking care of yourself, again, taking personal responsibility for your happiness, your health, your life, instead of waiting for others to do it for you. So that is the atypical Indian woman who I've spoken about. And the book talks about women's empowerment, but not from external sources. It's about how a woman can empower herself by taking care of herself and prioritizing her needs. Yes, I think it is an important message. So if they read the book, it will definitely help them.
Right. Having talked about your books, Kanika, I would like to know. I'll take this again.
Wait, I'll also drink some water.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having talked about your books, Kanika, I would like to know how a typical writing day looks like in your life.
Okay. Yeah. So I am an early riser. I would like to go for walks every morning, but it doesn't happen that regularly. So I like to go out in the fresh air early in the morning and it charges me up. And I feel if we do not start the day with the mobile, early in the morning is our minds are fresh and we get fresh thoughts and ideas. So, as far as possible, early in the morning, I like to jot down a few points, whatever ideas I have, so that later I can build on them. And again, this is something I do when I'm feeling low and depressed. Is that I start the day with a gratitude journal where I acknowledge three things. I'm grateful for three things that I have. And that kind of helps me lift up my mood for the day. And again, this is not something that I do regularly. I do it only when I'm feeling low or disturbed. So that is something I do early, and then I get busy with the household chores, making my husband's tiffin and packing stuff and all that. And I have a early morning bath, early breakfast, so that I have the entire day to myself. I finish everything by 8:30. So then, when I excuse me, when I have the entire day, I do my writing at my pace, because creativity is something that cannot be forced. It is not time bound. So when you feel like writing, that's when you write. But of course, when I'm writing for clients, that is something that I do according to a timetable. I have a fixed duration when I do it, because there it's not that much creativity. It is basically reading stuff, understanding, and then writing. So, but when I have to write for myself, personal blogs or book, that is when I take it easy. I give myself time, and then I write. I also spend a lot of time in organizing maybe my cupboard or kitchen cabinets. Now you'll find it, or you will wonder why I'm talking about it, because I have found that such activities also help organize my thoughts. They put it in order, and it helps me think better. So these are some things that I try to do again on a daily basis. Some cleaning up. So it puts mind at rest, and thought clarity of thought. I also do some yoga exercises. So the entire day goes like this sometime. And yes, the entire day is interspersed with calls to my friends and family, because that is something I enjoy doing. I'm not a texting person, I'm more of a talking person. So yeah, that those are other things that I do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That looks like a very organized day. Nice.
Thank you. Thanks.
Which part of writing do you enjoy the most? Like a lot of research, drafting, editing goes into it, right? So, which is that part that you enjoy?
I like the research part. It is because that's how I learn new things. It really, I feel very good when I have learned something new. And my job as a content writer helps me learn new things every day. So whether I'm talking about the latest technology, whether I'm looking deeper into psychology, I've written about pet clinics, I've written about paint companies, so anything. So every time you're reading something new, that I find very fulfilling, very enriching. So I enjoy the research part of it, even for my books, because they are non-fiction. It they require research. I could have some thoughts, but I need to research and see, and look for perspectives. Like I may think something, but there could be something totally different, a totally completely different approach, a completely different theory. So I like to read both sides and then decide what my thoughts are, and maybe negate the other side also, because if for instance somebody could say that you talk about these things because you're privileged, you have everything, so you can talk about such things, which is true to a very large extent, because again, there is this Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which says that your basic needs should be fulfilled for you to move up the ladder, the hierarchy, to self actualization, and a state where you're thinking. So if your external struggles are going on, you are finding it difficult to make ends meet, you're struggling in life, that's not the time when you will be able to look at your internal struggles. It's only the external that you're trying to deal with, because that's very powerful. It's only when those things have quietened down, when you are at peace, that is when you start thinking about your inner wars. So this is just an example of completely two different thoughts. So this is what I do. I research, and it enriches me. I feel very good at the end of the day.
That is nice to know. What do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about writers or authors?
Um, okay, people, I think about writers, I would say content writing, for instance, people think that it is something very easy. You know, there's, okay, so what if she's a writer? I remember when I became a writer, many people in my circle, whoever I would tell them that I am a content writer, nobody knows what a content writer is. It's just a writer, is what people believe. So they would say, oh, my daughter writes so well, or my uncle writes so well, or, like they would be comparing me to other people and saying, so they think if you're good at English, you are automatically a good content writer. Now, content writer writing is something, it's not just simple writing. Here you have to write the content optimized for search engines. Okay. The purpose behind writing a blog or a website content is that the website should rank high in Google searches. Because when you're searching something, it's but natural you look at the first few websites. So, content writing is around keywords, around optimization. So, it's not like writing a simple essay. It is optimized writing, and that takes effort. But people, the misconception people have is that, so what? It's just writing. So, that I
Yeah.
would say about content writing. About authors, many people look up to authors and they admire the effort and, that you have completed an entire book. And then there are many who feel that, again, it's not a big deal. So, and many people struggle to become authors. They are the ones who actually admire authors, that, okay, this is something I want to do, I want to become. So, this is what I feel are the misconceptions that people have about writers and authors.
I see. Okay. In addition to English, which other languages fascinate you?
Okay. My mother tongue is Hindi. Okay. And I have been told by many people that the themes in my book are such that I will have a larger audience in Hindi. So I should think about writing in Hindi. Even though it is my mother tongue, I don't have mastery. Of course, I know Hindi well, but to write a book, you really need a level of mastery in Hindi, which I lack. I would love to do it. And now, today, people are just using AI tools and translating, but I feel such books don't have the depth. So, I would not like my book to be translated, but I would someday probably write a book in Hindi. So that is
That's good.
one
That's amazing. Yeah,
thing.
we look forward to it.
Thank you. And another language, other languages, I know Kannada because my childhood was spent in Bangalore and Kannada was a compulsory language. So I can read, write, speak. So that is one language. I have touched on Arabic because I spent quite a bit of my life in Dubai and my children had to study Arabic in school. So I started with the alphabets and everything and started teaching them. Of course, I don't remember anything, but I have touched on it. So these are the languages that I would say I'm familiar with.
Wow, that's good. What are you currently working on? What is on your plate right now?
I have started my next book. It's about how disconnected we've become from reality. It's about how we are chasing things and being in a very hyper competitive state, looking at our screens and believing that is reality,
Mhm.
and disconnected from values, morals. And if somebody talks about morals, we say moral policing is going on. So, we defy all the, what do you say, old school principles and thoughts. And we believe that, defying everything is what is the way ahead. And it, not everything, all values, all morals are right. But, and you need the freedom to believe what you believe in. But if you look at the repercussions of this thought process, look at the number of mental health issues, the way they are rising. Okay, today you will hear so many youngsters going to therapists, and so again, here it's not just defying the values, it's also about family life and how less time we have for the, even as parents, we're not able to dedicate that kind of time because we are busy with our jobs and other things. So here is what I feel, that we need to strike a balance between what is modern, what is ancient, come back to reality, not live in a mystical world where everything is perfect. What we see is perfection. We want that perfection. When it doesn't happen, we are frustrated. You look at the beauty standards today, most people you will find with similar looks, standard looks have got standardized.
True.
So is it something that's required? We don't want natural. And on the other hand, we talk about saving the environment and stop using plastic, but we are becoming plastics ourselves. So this is what the book is about, moving far away, disconnecting from reality, and why we need to get back to it.
Much needed. Yes, we look forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This was a wonderful conversation, Kanika.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it. Your questions were very good. And I'm glad I could, talk about all my books, because of late, whatever interviews that I've been having, it's talking about my latest book. But this has kind of taken me down the memory lane and it feels good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining, and I wish you all the best for your book. Look forward to it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye. Have a nice day.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining me in conversation with Kanika. See you in the next episode. Till then, have a good day. Bye bye.